Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Blair. If you are new here, welcome. So today I'm going to do a Disney Cruise Line First Timers report. If you haven't been following along with my channel, then you may not know that my husband Riley and I went on our first cruise ever, which was a Disney cruise about a week ago, and it was a 5-day and 4-night cruise to the Bahamas, and we stopped in Nassau and Castaway Cay. It was out of Port Canaveral on the Disney Dream, and the dates that we sailed were from May 14th through May 18th. It was a Monday that we embarked and a Friday that we disembarked. So that's kind of the brief synopsis. If you haven't already, I highly recommend that if you are doing research for a Disney cruise or if you're interested in taking a Disney cruise, I really highly recommend that you watch the 5 daily vlogs that I filmed and uploaded. I will link the playlist above that houses those Disney cruise daily vlogs, but those will give you a really good insight because you can visually see kind of what our stateroom looked like, what our days looked like, what the buffets looked like, what the restaurants looked like. It's just a lot, I think, easier to visualize what your cruise would look like if you can actually see those different things. So that playlist will be linked above where I just did, and then also below I will put a link to my Disney cruise playlist below so that you can go and check that out if you're interested in learning more. I really do think that those vlogs are a great place to start. So today I'm going to do a first timers report, like I said. So I want to go over all of the different things that I didn't necessarily know about Disney cruises or cruising in general, or things that I would have liked to have known beforehand, or just interesting, fun kind of tidbit kind of things. I did a lot of research really quickly before we left on our cruise, and I ended up watching a lot of YouTube videos and reading lots of blog posts, and some of these things that I'm going to mention today are things that I definitely heard about through my research, and some of those things that I'm going to mention today I didn't hear about, and so that's why I want to create this video. I hope that this is helpful to you if you're considering a Disney cruise or if you just want to learn more about them. I hope this is helpful. So I'm just going to kind of give you my overview, my thoughts, different tidbits and pieces of information in several different categories. So because of the person that I am, I have a very detailed spreadsheet that I created, and basically throughout our cruise, throughout the 5 days, on my phone I had a note, and I just took notes every single day about different things that we were encountering and new information that was coming my way, or things that would be helpful to know for a first-time cruising couple or family like me and my husband, who we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And then when I got home, I compiled them into 6 different categories. So the 6 categories that I want to talk about today are the service on the ship, food and drink, embarkation and disembarkation, which is getting on and off the ship, the ship/overall experience, that's kind of just a catch-all category, packing, and then our stateroom. So I'm going to go through each category one by one to hopefully answer questions and give you some valuable insights into what it's like to take a Disney cruise. So the first category I want to touch on is the service, and this is an amazing category. The service on the cruise was incredible. I have truly never experienced such A+, over the top, just bend over backwards kind of service as I did on a Disney cruise. Every single cast member that we encountered, literally every single one, was phenomenal. So kind, so helpful, so willing to stand and talk with us or sit and talk with us, so willing to explain things to us. We never felt rushed. We never felt like anyone was being impatient. The level of detail that goes into the service is superb, which I will certainly touch on throughout this video, but it's pretty amazing. So for example, there is a guest services counter in the main atrium area of the ship, and this is a great place to go if you have questions or if you want to make reservations or change reservations or just any main thing that you would need to do. Guest services is a good place to start. First of all, the desk is staffed 24 hours a day for the entirety of the cruise. So at any point, we were able to just pop down there and go and ask questions, and we utilized guest services pretty much once every single day. We had different things that we needed to go and talk to them about or ask questions about. So there are people that are behind the counter at guest services who are with their computers, as you would imagine, but then Disney also has a cast member who is standing at the beginning of the line, the little queue to guest services, who is there specifically to pre-answer your questions or just to help you know what kinds of things you're going to encounter once you get to the cast member who is actually working for guest services. It was so awesome. So it helps a lot if you're like, I don't know if this is the right place where we're supposed to be. So for example, we wanted to register for the Castaway Cay 5K race. So when we got on the ship, we got in line at guest services, but it was our very first time on the ship and we didn't know if that was the right place to be. This cast member that was waiting at the beginning of the line said, "What are you in line for today? Or what can we help you with today?" We explained and she said, "Great, you're in the right place." And it was just super helpful. There was also once or twice where we got in line and that cast member answered our question and we didn't even have to wait in the rest of the line. So that's just one example. But that really blew me away. I felt like that was such a great way to make sure that people were moving through the line really quickly and that people knew that they were in the right place. Similarly, in the buffet, which is called cabanas on the ship, there were cast members who were specifically meandering around, not only to clean up the tables and remove dishes and wipe down tables, which was helpful, but also there were cast members who were getting coffee, tea, and juice, specifically for families with young children, and then helping the parents seat the children and carry the different foods and the plates and the cups and everything. And it really warmed my heart because I can imagine that if you have a few young kids and one parent is waiting in line at the omelet bar and the other one's trying to get juice for them and it would be really helpful to have another set of hands on deck. And so I really appreciated seeing that because it felt like it was just above and beyond. It's a buffet. No one's expecting to have that kind of extra help, but Disney certainly had cast members who were there ready to do it. One last example I'll give of just the absolutely phenomenal service in this category at least is that the waiter that we had each night at dinner, who was the same person every night, which I will talk about more later in the food and drink category. Every night after we finished our meal and we finished our dessert or our coffee or whatever was our last thing at the end of the night, he would come over to our table and he would give us a rundown of the next day's activities, events, anything that we would need to know. It was so helpful. So we knew that after dinner, our waiter, who was named Peter, he was great, he would come over to our table and he would say, "Okay, so tomorrow is Castaway Cay Day. You can get off the ship. The earliest is 8:30. You want to go to this deck and this is how you're going to get off and this is what you need to bring. You need to make sure you have your ID. You need to make sure you have your stateroom key." And he explained like all of the following day, which not only was just super helpful, but it also made it so that I didn't feel like I had to remember every part of what was going to be happening for every day of the trip, because I knew that in the evening I would get the information that I needed for the next day. So those are the things I have to say about service. I could probably make a 45-minute long video about the service because it was so superb, but I will just give you those few examples. It was amazing. The Disney difference, it was amazing. The next category is food and drink. Now this is of course something that everyone who is going on a cruise gets excited about because there is notoriously a lot of food and there's a lot of drink on any cruise line. So the first thing I want to say is that we were never hungry for 5 days. You will not be hungry. There are places that are open 24 hours a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There are all different kinds of options. There are ice cream, there's an ice cream place, there's pizza, there's subs, there's salads, it is endless. There's so much food. We actually took out money specifically for tips because one of the only things on the ship that you tip cash for, it may be the only thing that you tip cash for throughout your trip, is room service. So we took out some money, but we actually never got a chance to utilize the room service. We really hope that on our next cruise we can use it for maybe breakfast or cookies and milk one night. We kept hoping to, but we were so full. We were just never hungry. And so we didn't end up using room service, although I know that it's really, really amazing. There were definitely several nights where we got back to the room and I was like, it would be really fun to order cookies and milk or a Mickey bar right now, but we would just look at each other and be like, there's no way, there's no way. On the drink front, on the alcohol drink front, which alcohol is not included, but all soft drinks, teas, iced teas, milks, juices, coffee, all of that is included in your cruise price, but alcoholic beverages are not. So pretty much every day we had the later dinner seating, which was at 8:15, I believe. And so pretty much every single day we would go see the show, which was I think at 6:30, and then in between, 7:30ish and 8:15 when we would go be seated for dinner, we would go sit at the bar in the atrium so we could listen to the live music and get a drink. Most nights we got the drink of the day. So every day Disney has a drink of the day, and usually in our experience they were very tropical, kind of fruity drinks, like a banana cream drink or a pineapple drink or something like that. And they were all alcoholic. They were all spiked with some sort of alcohol. I really liked them. I love fruity cocktails. That's pretty much, I'm not a big drinker, but I do like fruity cocktails. And I enjoyed every one that I had. And the prices I felt like were really reasonable. For a pretty big drink, it was $5 each. And so pretty much every day we would go drop about $10. Riley would get one, I would get one, and we were both able to have a little drink before dinner. It was a fun way to pass the time, sit in the lobby, atrium area, and just kind of watch all the goings on. And so I just wanted to say that some of the alcoholic drinks were more expensive, but the $5, I felt like that was pretty reasonable. Along the same lines as drinks, I just want to mention that the ice on the ship is amazing. It's like the little tiny barrels, and it was like crunchy and it was clear and just delicious. So if you are someone who really likes ice, like I just really like a lot of ice in my drinks, you will love the Disney Cruise Line ice. It's so great. So this is some information if you are a couple specifically, although it might be applicable otherwise, but I can only speak to, if you're a couple. So basically, a lot of times if you are a couple and there's just two of you in your stateroom on the ship, then you for dinner will get placed with a few, maybe 2 or 1 or 3 other couples. So they'll seat you at a table for 4 or 6 or 8 instead of a table for 2. This trip was our early anniversary cruise, and I did not love the idea of sitting with other people at dinner. I could imagine that going really well and making really great friends, but I could also imagine that not going so well. So what you can do is you can call Disney Cruise Line, just the 1-800 number listed on the website. You'll go through the prompts, and I just called and I said, I would like to request a private table for dinner. He took my information for what cruise we were going on and all those kinds of things, and our request was honored. On our cruise, we saw several people who were honeymooning, and because they had shirts that said they were honeymooning and a variety of other things that we knew that they were honeymooning, and they were actually seated with other couples. Now, they might have wanted that or been fine with that, but I know that on my honeymoon, I would have been really disappointed if I didn't just get to be with my husband. So just be aware of that they can't guarantee that they can honor that request, but if you are a couple going on a cruise, on it specifically, I can only speak to a Disney cruise because it's the only one I've ever been on. Make sure that you do, if you want a private table, call ahead and say, I would like to request a private table for dinner. The person who was on the phone with me was so kind. He was so receptive. He said he would make a note on my account and that he hoped that we would get that request granted, and we did. I know a lot of people are concerned about hydrating, obviously, especially if you're on a tropical cruise. It is warm, if not very hot, and so you are obviously wanting to make sure that you are hydrating your body. I will say that I was very concerned that the water on the ship was going to taste really funny and that I would have a hard time drinking that. I would have to go spend money on buying water bottles on board, which you can do. But I am pretty particular about water, and I thought that the water was completely fine. It did not taste like that sulfury kind of water that I'm used to at Walt Disney World. It had a very crisp, filtered, clean taste. That plus those delicious ice cubes, I felt like it was completely fine, and we did not buy a water bottle package when we were on board. So obviously we all have different taste buds and different preferences, so for you it might make sense to go another route, but just in case you're the kind of person who you're just wondering if it's going to taste okay, in my experience, and my husband agreed, it tasted fine. The water tasted filtered and fine, and we were able to drink many, many glasses of it throughout our cruise without thinking that it tasted funny. One of my favorite aspects of the Disney cruise was the rotational dining, which was touted as exclusive to Disney Cruise Line, which basically means that you rotate from restaurant to restaurant throughout your cruise, but your wait staff rotates with you, which I absolutely loved. So on the first night we met our head waiter, Peter, and he had a team of people behind him, and we met all of them. And every night of the cruise, they went from restaurant to restaurant and followed us, and they were able to wait on us every night. And it just makes it fun because you already know them, and they were just such kind and really helpful, just really excellent servers, and we really enjoyed getting to know them. And it was fun because they got to know like our favorite drinks, so they could have our favorite drinks waiting for us, and it was just really nice. I really liked the rotational dining aspect, so I did want to mention that because I thought that that was pretty unique and I really enjoyed it. One note on the dinner times. So I believe the first seating for dinner is at 6 p.m. and the second one is at 8:15. If I'm wrong, I'm only wrong by 15 or 30 minutes. It's around those two times. I know that ours was at 8:15 and I believe the first was at 6, but I could be wrong. Anyway, when we booked our cruise and we saw that the first seating was no longer available, so we were going to be at the second seating, which like I said is at 8:15 p.m., we were like, that's a little late to be eating dinner. But I just want to say that if you are in the same shoes as we are in and you're going on a cruise and you're also having the second seating, it does not feel that late, and here's why. The show that you will see is the first showing of the show, and that usually is between like 6 or 6:30, I think. And so you are out and about, you're at the pool, you're in the port, you're doing this, that, and the other. By the time you get back to your stateroom and you shower and get dressed for the show, it's like maybe 5:30 or 6. You head to the show, 7:45, we got a drink, and then we would head to dinner. It didn't feel late at all to us. Like if we went again, we would choose the second seating. I loved having those extra few hours during the evening. I will also say that it seemed to me that there were many, many, many more young children in the first seating, which makes complete sense. And there were a lot more couples and adults in the second seating. So if that's important to you, I would opt for the second seating because it truly did not feel too late. And if we were hungry, we would just go up to deck 11 where there was a plethora of food and we would just grab a snack before dinner. So that's my thoughts on that. Finally, just some overall thoughts on the food and what we thought it tasted like. Some of the food that we had was absolutely excellent, superb, delicious, like 10 out of 10, and we loved it. And some of the food that we had was just okay. Neither of us ordered anything that we strongly disliked or that was gross or just not well cooked. We didn't have any experience like that. I will say some food was amazing, some food was just so-so, but we didn't have anything that was absolutely horrible. And so that's kind of our review of the food. There were, like I said, there were certain things that blew us away. At every meal, we usually had at least 1 or 2 things that we just loved, and then there were some things that were like, okay, well, I take it or leave it kind of thing. So people were asking, what did you think of the food? That's such a personal thing. Some people will go on a Disney cruise and love every single bite that they put in their mouth, and some people will be exactly the opposite. We were somewhere in between, but leaning more toward liking everything that we put in our mouth. We really felt like the food was really solid and really enjoyed all of our meals. Okay, moving on to the embarkation/disembarkation category, which, like I said earlier, is related to getting on and off the ship. Now, I need to tell you a brief little anecdote, a little story, because we booked our cruise about 4 weeks before we were leaving on it. And when I booked it, I had a passport, but my passport was in my maiden name. I had not gotten my passport updated. And so because of that, I would either have to book my cruise in my maiden name, which is not my legal name, or book it in my legal name and then either get my passport updated in 4 weeks, which is totally possible but a little bit stressful, or use the alternative, which is a birth certificate and a license. I decided that the stress of going through updating my passport in time, my passport was not expired, so I knew that I could bring it in the case of an emergency. I could book a flight in my maiden name if I needed to get home quickly, but I wanted, because legally my name is changed, I wanted to use my married name. If your cruise is a closed loop cruise, meaning that where you embark, the port that you get on the ship, and the port where you get off the ship at the end of the cruise are the same, so for us both of those ports were Port Canaveral, you are able to use an alternative form of identification, which is your birth certificate, your state issued, not hospital issued, but state issued birth certificate or birth certificate certified copy. It has to have a raised seal on it, plus your license. You can use those two things together to prove that you are a U.S. citizen and to prove your identity and to get on the ship. I knew this, I did the research, I called Disney to verify, which you should do, that I could do that on my cruise, and then, even though I knew that I could, I got myself into this panicked tizzy that I wasn't gonna be able to do that somehow it wasn't gonna work, I was not gonna get to be able to board the ship, I had to have a passport, I got into this frenzy, but it was like right before our cruise, and I didn't at that point have time to, and I didn't wanna spend the extra money to update the passport. So I'm just here to say, the number one most desirable option is always to bring an up-to-date passport with your legal name on it. Obviously, that is obviously the thing that you want the most. If that is not an option, I'm just here to say that my experience was that I had absolutely no problem whatsoever using my birth certificate, which has my maiden name on it, in coalition with my license, which has my married name on it. When doing this, you are supposed to bring a bridging document, which bridges the maiden name with the married name. So for me, that was my marriage license. So that's the bridging document that goes between the two. And so I did bring that, but I was never asked for it. Customs didn't ask for it. The Disney check-in people, security people didn't ask for it. The birth certificate and my license worked perfectly. I just want to put that out there because if I had been able to watch someone say everything that I just said, my anxiety would have decreased by about 5,000%. So I just want you to know, if you have a birth certificate that has your maiden name on it and you have a license that has your married name on it, you are totally able to use those two things together. You should bring a bridging document, whether it's a marriage license or a divorce certificate or whatever it is that bridges one name to the next. You should bring that just in case. I did not get asked to show it. It does work. Just want to impart that to you because I truly sent myself into a tizzy beforehand thinking that it wasn't going to work, and I did not have the ability. I did have the ability, but I did not have the time and financial means to want to go and try to get this passport rushed in like a week, I wouldn't have needed to anyway. So hope that makes sense. As far as parking, we did park our car in the Port Canaveral terminal. We didn't do any of the third-party parking lots, which you can do, and then they'll shuttle you to Port Canaveral. For us, for a 5-day cruise, the price point was $85. It was monsooning, literally pouring, like raining cats and dogs on the day that we were embarking on our cruise ship, and so for us it was worth paying that extra money to be able to park in the parking garage that was attached to the terminal rather than parking somewhere else. I just wanted to say it's 85 bucks if that's helpful. Another tip is that if you are renting a car like we did and you plan on driving around Orlando at all, please bring lots of $1 bills and lots of quarters. We literally paid probably upwards of $15 to $20 in tolls just driving from the airport to where we were staying for a few days before the cruise, and then from there to Port Canaveral, and then from there to Disney Springs back to the airport. So we did like a little small loop. Just in those little things, it literally cost us $15 or $20 in tolls, and I'm so glad that we had a bunch of $1 bills that we had taken out to use for room service tips we didn't really end up using, and then a bunch of quarters. Definitely pack that. You will use it if you are renting a car. 2 quick things about flights. If you are flying into the Orlando airport, make sure that you fly in the night before if possible, because we had crazy thunderstorms. Flights were getting canceled and delayed all over the place. The day that we were driving up to board our cruise, my parents and siblings and a few other family members, we were all together for a wedding in Vero Beach in Florida. They were all flying back home to Maryland, and every single person's flight got canceled. And they couldn't get out until the next day. So if that had been someone who was trying to fly into Orlando for the cruise, they would not have boarded the cruise. And there probably were some people who were not on our ship because of weather. So I highly recommend. Orlando has a hotel, so there's actually a hotel in the airport. So I highly recommend doing that. Secondly, when you are flying out of Orlando on the morning after the cruise, once you get off the cruise, so for us that was a Friday morning, you need to please make sure that you have given yourself at least 3 or more hours to get through the Orlando airport to your terminal. I cannot tell you how many people were in line with us who were missing flights or about to miss their flight because they did not give themselves enough time at the Orlando airport. The Orlando airport is one of the slowest airports I've ever been to. I don't know that exactly why. I think probably there's just a high capacity of people going through that airport all the time, but you need to give yourself 3 hours. So if you're gonna disembark around 9 or 10, don't book a flight at 11. You will not make it. Make sure you book your flight at like 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. or later. We booked ours for 7 p.m. and just spent the day at Disney Springs, which was really fun. But just make sure that you have plenty of time at the Orlando airport, because it is not a fast airport, and I was standing in line with people who were watching their flights fly away because they didn't give themselves enough time to get through security. So make sure that you give yourself 3 hours. 3 hours. It seems excessive, but I'm telling you what, it is, especially, I mean, we were in May, it wasn't even in the summer months, and it was still packed. So 3 hours. Okay, moving on to the next section, which is the ship/overall experience. So this is just all different pieces of notes and information just from the overall experience and the ship at large. The first thing I want to mention is that every single bathroom on the cruise ship that we went into was absolutely, completely spotless. It almost was a little bit weird. Like, for there being about 4,000 people on the ship plus 1,500 crew members, it really baffled me that I literally never once went into a bathroom where the stall was dirty, where there was toilet paper on the floor, where it was running out of toilet paper, where there was an overflow of paper towels or a really nasty sink. I mean, I'm saying every single time for 5 days that we went to use one of the restrooms in the main areas of the ship, which was very often, they were all spotless. So just something to note. It really blew me away. On the seasickness front, we bought lots and lots of seasickness medications and remedies. I will throw a link to my pre-Disney cruise packing haul above, where I shared, we had some essential oils, we had the sea bands, we had ginger candy, we had Dramamine, we had all different things. And I bought all those things just in case, but neither of us experienced any seasickness at all. And we did sail through some storms where you could definitely feel the boat rocking. I know that we're just really lucky. We just didn't get seasick. I know some people absolutely would get seasick, but we didn't. So that just was our experience. I've had a lot of people ask, how did your different remedies work for you? I never even opened them up. They stayed in the little zipped pouch in my suitcase under the bed for the entirety of the trip because we didn't need to use them. I just want to mention really quickly that the Beauty and the Beast show on the ship was, I wrote on here, A+++++++. I have never in my life seen anything like it. It was stunning. It was so well done. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So if you are going on a Disney cruise where the Beauty and the Beast show is playing, do not miss it. You will not want to miss it. It was amazing. Let's talk about Wi-Fi on the ship. Wi-Fi is not included on a Disney cruise. I actually loved this because my job is so much about being online and being on the internet. It was something really cool for me to take my laptop, my iPad, and my iPhone and literally turn them all three off and put them away in a drawer for the entire duration of the cruise. I have never in my life been unplugged for 5 straight days. It was from everything. It was so refreshing and it was just so rejuvenating, and I loved it. However, if you choose that you want to buy Wi-Fi, my husband did get Wi-Fi because he needed to check in with his work email a couple of times. I will insert a screenshot that I took on the Disney Cruise app, which is super helpful. That would be the only reason you would want to have your phone out if you're planning on unplugging. My husband bought 2 of the $19 Wi-Fi packages, so we ended up spending about $40 on Wi-Fi, and he just used it, like I said, to check his email. But I will say that it goes fast. Like, he was not able to get on any social media or anything like that. He only used his Wi-Fi for his work email. So that's something to note, that it's not cheap. You can stay connected while you are on board, but be ready to shell out some serious cash because they do not make it cheap. So if you were like me, you might just want to unplug. I really enjoyed doing that. Let's talk about weather for a minute. So our trip was very, very rainy. Now, of course, this isn't something you can control or predict. I mean, there are obviously weather patterns throughout the year, but largely you're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. So here's a rundown of what our trip's weather was like. On Monday, the day that we boarded the ship, it rained all day and night. It poured, it monsooned, everything was moved inside. On Tuesday when we were in Nassau, it was very touch and go. There were rain showers on and off all day. On Wednesday, which was supposed to be our Castaway Key Day, it was canceled because the thunderstorms were so heavy and dangerous. On Thursday, it was Castaway Key Day, but the rain began in the evening again and poured and poured and poured. And then on Friday, the day we were disembarking, we woke up to rain, and it was overcast but clear by the time we disembarked. So we dealt with rain literally every single day of our cruise. Clearly, this would not be my top preference if someone said, why don't you choose your weather for your cruise? I would not choose rain and thunderstorms on and off throughout the whole trip. But I will say that Disney, the cast members and the crew went completely over the top to make sure that there were so many things for us to do, even on days when it was very rainy. I do wish that we had had a little bit more sunshine. I would have liked to have lounged by the pool a little bit more, but overall, our trip was not heavily impacted by the rain, even though you would think that it would be. I mean, things had to get moved around. Our Castaway Key Day got canceled and rescheduled. Like, those things totally happened. But overall, we still were able to completely enjoy ourselves, and we don't look back on our trip like, oh, well, that was a waste. It just rained the whole time. So just let that be an encouragement to you. If you're going on a cruise and the weather forecast is calling for a whole bunch of rain and thunderstorms, first of all, especially if you're going somewhere in the Caribbean or anywhere else tropical, weather changes, so don't be too worried. But second of all, if it does end up like our cruise did, where it's lots and lots of rain, that doesn't mean you can't have fun. We still had so much fun. We had so much fun. So I just want to say that because I know that it's stressful when you're spending a lot of money and you're trekking across the country or whatever it is to go on a cruise. You really have been anticipating it and you're imagining it to be sunshine and rainbows literally the whole time. But that might not be the case. It wasn't for us, but we don't look back on the trip with any kind of grief or sadness. It was really fun. Even with the rain, it was really fun. So there you go. One thing that you might not know that I didn't know is that the shops are closed anytime the ship is in port, which makes sense. It has to do with maritime law and just customs and different things. But that didn't make sense to me at first. Like, I was like, when we first got on the ship, all the shops were closed. And then the whole time that we were docked in Nassau, in the Bahamas, all the shops were closed. So if you want to shop, you want to make sure that you're shopping on one of your days at sea or any other time when you're sailing. So after the sail away party, on the Disney cruise, that's when the shops will open. So just so that you know, because that surprised me. Although now it makes sense to me, it definitely surprised me. One thing that also surprised me was that on the ship, the other guests dressed so nicely. Like, I felt like I was the least dressed up a lot of the time. It really surprised me, but I really liked it. I thought it kind of felt like, you know, we were back in the golden age of cruising, you know, decades ago or something, where people, for dinner, women wore dresses and heels a whole bunch, like a lot of nights, even when they weren't going to one of the more formal restaurants like Palo or Remy. The men were very dressed up. The children were very pulled together. I rarely saw anyone. I mean, even during the day, like, I was wearing like Nike shorts and a t-shirt, and like, I was one of the only ones, it felt like. I kept saying to Riley, like, I feel so casual compared to everyone else. A lot of people wear really cute sundresses and really nice shorts and blouses and things. So I will say, though, that I didn't feel like I stuck out, even though I was dressed a lot of times more casually. You can totally wear, to most of the dinners, you can wear jeans and a blouse and you will look pulled together and nice. But if you want to wear a full-length dress with high sparkly heels, you can totally do that. So I actually really appreciated that because I felt like each person, depending on his or her comfort level or whatever anyone's preference is, you could totally kind of adjust your outfits to that. So just so you know, you can dress way up, or you can dress a little bit less way up, but don't plan on going to dinner in like tennis shoes and cutoffs and a tank top, because you would, I think, stick out at that point. People really, there is a dress code for each meal and people do tend to stick to it. It really surprised me. I have already gotten a lot of questions on my vlogs, a lot of comments where people have asked me to explain what's included and what's not included in a Disney cruise. So I have a printed off blog post, and the blog is called tripsavvy.com, and the post title is called What's Included in a Disney Cruise Line Fare. I am going to link that in my description box below so you can go and check it out, but I'm going to quickly read it off and then you can go read the article for more information. I just know that a lot of people are interested. Included in the price that you pay are your stateroom accommodations, dining at 3 sit-down meals a day plus casual buffets and snacks, 24-hour room service, water, coffee, tea, milk, juice, and soft drinks, nightly musicals, movie screenings, which include first run. So if you're on the cruise when a Disney movie comes out, it shows on the ship, you don't pay for it. A bunch of different family activities, live musicians, entertainers, movies, workshops, trivia games, all that's included. Deck parties, fireworks are included, special events and parties that feature extra activities are all included. The kids club for kids aged 3 to 17 is included. Access to the pool, water slides, all that's included. Meeting and greeting characters is included. Using the fitness room is included. And on Castaway Cay, which is Disney's private island in the Bahamas, a barbecue buffet lunch is included, non-alcoholic drinks is included, ice cream is included, youth activities are included, characters experiences, and beach access are all included. I'm here to tell you that if you don't want to spend anything else above what you paid for the cruise, you do not have to. Pretty much everything you need is included. Here's what's not included. These are things that are just like gravy, the cherry on top. You don't need them. Spa treatments at the spa are included. Adult-only dining, which is at Palo or Remy. We went to Remy. It's in our final cruise vlog. It was amazing. It's in our day 4 cruise vlog, our last full day. Alcoholic beverages are not included. Smoothies or specialty drinks, specialty coffees from a place called Cove Cafe. That's not included. Bottled water is not included, but you can order it. The nursery for babies that are 6 months old to 35 months old. You do have to pay for that. I think it's like $10 an hour, but don't quote me on that. There are some adult classes like wine tastings or martini tastings. Those things are not included. They're an upcharge. When you are in port, if you want to go on an excursion, like if you want to go swim with the dolphins or something like that, short excursions are not included. Wi-Fi access, like I said, not included. Obviously, souvenirs. Disney photographers will take photos of you all throughout your cruise, but you do have to pay for them. When you're on Castaway Cay, although all those things that I mentioned earlier are included, if you want to rent like snorkeling gear, if you want to rent bikes or tubes, anything like that, if you want to get an alcoholic drink, all of that is an upcharge. At the end of your cruise, it is customary to tip all of your server, your stateroom host, and a variety of different people, and they put envelopes in your stateroom on the night before you disembark and a card that explains what's customary, so that's not included. But I will say that the gratuities that they suggest are not over the top expensive, and so you can add some extra money for the people who really went above and beyond, but it still wasn't too much money. And then of course ground transportation from the airport to the port or from the port to the airport, that's not included. So again, I will link this blog post above so that you can go and read through it. There's a lot more information. I just read the most standout points, but I just wanted to give an overview because a lot of people asked me what was included and what was not. Moving on to the packing section, I'm thinking about doing a follow-up packing video, but just to briefly overview, you definitely want comfortable sandals. You will walk a whole lot on the Disney cruise. This ship is massive. You will walk a whole lot, and you want to make sure that you have comfortable shoes. Of course, you could use like tennis shoes or lace-up shoes, but sandals were like A1, awesome, so helpful for me and my husband. We both have a pair of Birkenstocks. I mentioned them in many videos. I will link the ones that I have below. They're so comfortable. I'm obsessed with them. They're so comfortable. And I was able to walk a lot, and I wore them all day, every day on the ship. I used them constantly. So definitely make sure that you have comfortable shoes, and I would recommend specifically comfortable sandals. Another thing with regards to packing that we found really helpful was a portable sound machine. I will link the one that we have below. It's like comes on a little, it has like a little loop, and so you can hang it on the door handle. And because your staterooms are you're all in the same spot. I mean, everybody's on a ship with their little rooms. You will hear like noise through the corridors, people are walking around, that kind of thing. It was never anything that was like alarmingly loud, but both of us are used to sleeping we live in the country, we're used to sleeping where it's very, very quiet. So having a sound machine was really helpful. Again, I'll link the travel sound machine that we used below because we got great night's sleep. You absolutely, if there's anything that you must bring, that you cannot forget, it is a lanyard. Definitely bring a lanyard. You will need your key to the world card for everything on the ship, and you must have it with you. And so having a lanyard made it super easy. We got a set of 2 lanyards off Amazon. I think it was $11 or $12. I loved the ones that we got because they had this little hook at the bottom that you could unclip from the main lanyard part, and I could just like hook it in my jean pocket or something like that. So I will link those below as well if you are wanting to find some lanyards. The ones that we had were cute. They were navy blue and they had little cruise ships on them. Definitely bring a lanyard. Definitely bring cold weather clothes. We were going in mid-May. We expected it to be very, very warm, and we brought mostly summer outfits, but because I had heard that there was always a possibility of it getting chilly, we also brought, like I brought a cardigan, Riley brought some sweatshirts, we brought some jeans, and we ended up wearing those cold weather clothes much more than we wore the warm summer clothes because of the weather that we encountered. So definitely bring some pairs of pants, definitely bring some warmer shoes, and definitely bring some sweaters and sweatshirts and things like that because it's no fun to be cold. And so just definitely make sure that every member of your family has some cold weather gear because you're gonna wear it if it's chilly or just at night. You know, when you're out on the ship and it's super windy at night, it's chilly even if it's a warm day. The last thing I want to mention in my packing section is to bring hand cream. This seems really silly and random, but my hands are literally still peeling and flaky, which is gross, from our cruise, which we got back from over a week ago. And the reason is because in order to go into any of the kids clubs or in order to go into any of the dining areas at all, there are cast members that have these hand sanitizing wipes that they give each person to sanitize their hands because obviously we're all on a ship together. If there was some kind of outbreak, it could get really bad really quickly. And so it's important that everyone's sanitizing their hands. Well, so you're doing that probably 6+ times a day, if not more. Every time you're going into different activities, you're sanitizing your hands. And plus washing your hands, plus when it was warm, we would lay out and we would be in the sunshine. So between the sun drying out my skin and then just constant hand sanitizing, my hands, like I said, are literally still kind of peely. And I just didn't even think about, I had my hand cream with me, but I didn't even really think about using it, and they didn't start peeling until after we got off the cruise. So bring hand cream and use it every day. The last section I want to touch on is the stateroom section, which the stateroom is basically your hotel room on board. We loved our stateroom. We had an ocean view stateroom with a veranda. It was amazing. When this video goes up, my stateroom tour was already published, so I will put a link to that. You can go watch the tour of our stateroom. Having the 2 bathrooms in the stateroom was great. So one bathroom has a sink and a toilet, and the other bathroom has a sink and a shower. It just makes getting ready really easy, so we really liked that. Our stateroom host came, which is the person who comes and cleans your room and gives you the information and all those things. Our stateroom host serviced our room twice a day, which felt like complete luxury. So he would come in usually while we were at breakfast and make our bed, tidy things up, refresh our towels, wipe down everything, tidy up everything. And then when we would go to dinner, he would do the same thing again, but then that was also where he would provide turn down service. So we turned down our sheets and he would draw the curtain closed and he would turn on the lamps and tidy everything up, and it just was the coziest thing to come back after dinner to a clean turned down bed. I absolutely loved it. So get excited for that if you're heading on a cruise soon. We found there to be absolutely abundant storage space. There were cabinets, there were 2 massive closets, there were drawers, there were shelves in both bathrooms. So if that's something you're worried about, I mean, of course, if you have a bigger family, it might be a different story, but for the 2 of us, we found that we couldn't even begin to fill up all of the cabinets, all of the shelves, all of the drawers. There was just abundant storage space. Another thing in our stateroom that I thought was interesting was that on the TV, there was a Disney on-demand system that had every Disney movie available to watch for free, just included with your cruise. So we went and watched all these, we watched Ratatouille the night before we went to Remy, which was really fun. We watched Cool Runnings because Riley loves Cool Runnings, so we watched that because that was fun because we were in the Caribbean. Anyway, every single movie is on there basically, so that's really fun. So look forward to that as well. We loved watching a movie while we were getting ready in the morning and then another movie at night before we went to bed. The last thing on my very extensive first-timers list was that the beds were super comfortable. If you've been following along, then you know that I have some pretty chronic back pain that I deal with due to scoliosis, and I am always concerned whenever I'm traveling that if the bed is uncomfortable, then my trip, I have a hard time being comfortable, because if I'm uncomfortable all night, then usually that means I'm uncomfortable all day. But I found these beds to be so comfortable. I loved it was like perfect between firm and soft. The pillows were great. I loved the comforter. I just found the beds to be super comfortable. So obviously that's a personal preference thing, but I will say that we both found the bed to be very comfortable. And that concludes my Disney Cruise First Timers report. I hope that gives you kind of an overview and just some insight into some of the things that I found particularly interesting or things that I didn't necessarily know. I know that this video is already long, and I know that I can't cover everything, and there are some things that are on that list that I just had to skip over for the sake of this video because it's already very long. However, I am about to film a Disney Cruise Line Q&A. So if you are interested, if you have questions for me, feel free to leave them below. If there's anything that I did not address in this video that you have questions about, you can totally pop those questions below. I will put them on a list and pick the ones that were asked the most for a Q&A video that will be out this coming Friday. So I really appreciate you watching. I hope this was helpful to you. Of course, I would love to hear from you. Are you planning a Disney cruise? Are you thinking about going on a Disney cruise? Are you researching? Are you anticipating one? I would love to hear kind of what drew you to watch this video, and just hear some of your experience as well. If you want to leave me a comment, I would love that. Additionally, I know a lot of people have been asking me what my thoughts are on going to Walt Disney World, which is a place that my husband and I have gone several times, versus going on a cruise. This Wednesday, I'm going to do a video on just that. So that video will be coming out very soon, where I talk about the differences between the two, and kind of the reasons why you might want to go on one over the other, or the other over the other one, you know, that whole thing. So thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. I really appreciate that. And make sure to subscribe to my channel for lots more Disney content. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye.